Hello, and you're watching Show in Vietnam, a 15 talk show daily on Netviet VTC 10. Phương Lin's pleasure to meet you today. In today's program, we'll warmly welcome Mr. Jin, the Korean advisor to Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources in Vietnam, who will share with us more about the Green Growth strategy development in Vietnam. Hello, Mr. Chung, and really nice to meet and discuss with you today. How are you today?
I'm fine. Nice to meet you too.
So I know that you are working for the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources in Vietnam, right? So could you share a bit about your current job here in Vietnam?
Yes, I'm working with the MONE, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. But particularly, I'm staying with ISPONRE. ISPONRE is the think tank under the MONE. ISPONRE means the Institute of Strategy and Policy on Natural Resources and Environment.
So as for you, what are the characteristics of an economy that follow the green growth?
When it comes to characteristics of green growth economy, it means that the concept paradigm changed. In the past, we thought economic development brings about destruction of environment. So always the contrasting concept, the economic growth always means the environmental degradation or destruction. But the green growth is changing the paradigm. The economic development comes hand in hand with the environmental protection. This is a fundamental difference. So for the topic of green growth in Vietnam, it is as well as the topic of our discussion in the show today. So now we just spend a few minutes for the TV viewers of Showing Vietnam on Vietnam's green growth strategy for the period 2011 to 2020.
For developing countries, including Vietnam, the concept of green growth, though still quite new, but initially has special interest. According to the National Strategy for the newly approved green growth in the period 2011-2020, Vietnam will reduce greenhouse gas emissions intensity from 8 to 10% compared to 2010, reducing energy consumption per GDP from 1 to 1.5% per year. The overall goal is to change Vietnam's growth model to a model based on low carbon emissions, green production and consumption, with restructuring the economy so that the economic growth is in accordance with the progress of social justice, environmental protection, in order to ensure a successful process of industrialization and modernization of the country. In the long-term strategy, many countries, including Vietnam, have seen green growth is a part of sustainable development, while green growth model focuses on responsibility for the natural environment. There is a different economic model that also contributes to sustainable development objectives, but in terms of social responsibility.
So, Mr. Chung, we know that the driving of the economy into the green growth is not a matter of any particular developing countries, including Vietnam. So how do you evaluate the current situation of green growth in Vietnam?
Yes, as you said, green growth is world phenomena, not limited to a specific country like Vietnam. I have seen in so many developing countries trying to introduce the green growth strategy in these days. And in this regard, I think the Vietnam is fully prepared to introduce the green growth strategy. And this is my understanding. So I think this is the right time to have it.
So you mean that this is the right timing for Vietnam to apply the green growth? So could you share more on that?
Yes, this is the right time because since the Doi Moi innovation, I think there's been many industrialization process going on. Because of that, there's been many contamination in the water, in the air. So the degree of contamination I think is already serious. So we have to take action in order to prevent further deterioration of the environment. So considering this country is determined to develop continuously up to 2020, it should be based on green growth strategies.
So, in your opinion, in order to apply the green growth strategy for Vietnam, what action plans that Vietnam should do?
The action plan, you made a good point. Actually, the green growth strategy in Vietnam was approved just 2 months ago on 25th of September. The strategy itself, I think, is really nice, so wonderful. But the question is how to implement the strategy. There is the really serious question, important issues. For example, I have seen many development plans or programs which has been not implemented relevantly, being on the paper. So I'd like to say, firstly, the action plan should be practical, and implementable, economical. There is the most important elements, I think. In this regard, there should be many measures to be introduced, like capacity building, also the publicity. We have to raise the awareness of the public, firstly. Then we have to strengthen the capacity of manpower. Then also we have to introduce good legislation, good regulation. Also, the funding mechanism, also the institution building, and there are many measures should be taken in order to make the action program workable.
So we know that South Korea is a developed country. So and you are also an expert in this field from South Korea, right?
Yes.
So what are the programs that you enjoy to support Vietnam in the field of green growth so far?
Good question. Just 1 week ago, we held a workshop on green ICT. It was successful with so many participants, more than 100. And also, there was the experts meeting in order to help prepare the action program. I organized the workshop with collaboration with many different ministries, like MONNE and also Ministry of Information and Communication, also many speakers from Korea. So they all contributed to make the workshop bigger success. And like this, I'm trying to help prepare the green growth action plan from behind. I'm just the advisor to the ISPONREH, to the MONNE, but my role is to facilitate this process from behind.
As one of the first activities providing discussions on the proposed roadmap for implementation of Vietnam's green growth strategy, the workshop Green Growth and Green ICT for Sustainable Development of Vietnam was held in Hanoi in November the 16th, 2012, to provide a forum to discuss the operation of appropriate policies, primarily for the field of information technology and telecommunication. Participating in the workshop are representatives of the Ministry of Information and Communications, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, Ministry of Planning and Investment, and many experts, scientists and managers in Vietnam and South Korea represented speeches and comments, giving some initial policy implications in order to build and develop the green communication technologies in Vietnam, contributing actively in the implementation of the growth strategy targeting the country's sustainable development goals.
So as we discussed from the previous part of the show, we know that South Korea has green growth strategy already, right? So can you share more on that and how successful has this green growth strategy been in South Korea?
the Korean green growth strategy has been quite successful. So far, so good. And I believe the Korea is fully ready to help the Vietnamese the green growth strategy in the making, because in the process of preparing Vietnamese green growth strategy over more than 1 year, I have been participated as an expert, so I know the process of preparing the Vietnamese green growth strategy. Then also there are many participation from Korean side, including KOICA. I have also made some contribution. So I think the Korean green growth strategy can be preparation of the Vietnamese green growth strategy as well as the action plan.
So I heard that you shared from the previous part that one of the particular point in the green growth strategy of South Korea is the application of ICT, right? So could you explain more on that and how you know that what are the direction of applying the ICT in Vietnam?
Korea is the IT strong state, as you know. IT is one of the major green technologies Korea has adopted. But as you know, ICT has two aspects. One is negative, the other one is the positive. Actually, ICT industry itself is generating the huge greenhouse gases because they're consuming the huge amount of energy. So how to control this negative effect is one of the important issues. At the same time, ICT has the very positive effects, which means that firstly, by monitoring air pollution, water pollution, whatever waste management, it can convey the information from one place to another. Then all the information about the contamination of the environmental resources can be transferred to the control tower immediately. That is the good thing, so that the environmental contamination can be stopped immediately through the control of the control tower. Also, you know, the ICT has been playing very big role, important role in reducing the generation of the pollution, because it is raising the efficiency of natural resources. I mean, we have been investing so much the natural resources in the process of production, but by using the ICT information, we can prevent such waste of the natural resources. There are many ways to do so, like intelligent transportation system, also smart grid. Also, there are many ways of reducing the consumption of natural resources.
So, Mr. Chung, this question wrapped up our show today. Once again, thank you so much for taking time for us today.
Ms. Lian, I'm also very much thankful to you because you invited me, and it is really my pleasure to have the good opportunity to speak about the green growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that comes to the end of our show today. Thank you for watching Showing Vietnam from Netviet VTC 10. I'm Phương Liên. If you have any comments, please send an email to showingvietnam@gmail.com. Leave today, see you tomorrow.
Xin cảm ơn biên tập viên Phương Liên và ông Trung về những chia sẻ thú vị vừa rồi. Khép lại mục Việt Nam góc nhìn của bạn, chúng ta sẽ cùng đến với câu chuyện kinh tế tiếp theo cùng biên tập viên Nguyễn Tùng.
Xin cảm ơn Hồng Giang. Thưa quý vị và các bạn, hiện nay việc đẩy mạnh phát triển nền khoa học kỹ thuật theo hướng công nghệ cao thực sự cần thiết trong sự nghiệp công nghiệp hóa hiện đại hóa đất nước. Phát triển những công nghệ sinh học hiện đại như công nghệ lên men phục vụ trong sản xuất đang là một giải pháp hữu ích cho xu hướng đó.